It isn't just D.C. Things are quickly deteriorating in many Democrat-controlled cities across the country. In Minneapolis, the city where the nation's recent unrest started, violent crime is way up, and it's culminating in a deadly shooting over the weekend that left 11 wounded and 1 dead. Police are still looking for suspects. In Seattle, 2 teenagers were shot in the largely peaceful occupied zone last weekend. What's worse is police say a violent crowd kept them from getting to one of the victims. That was a 19-year-old who later died in the hospital. In New York City, get this, shootings were up 358% over the last week compared to the same time last year. On Saturday night, the violence got so out of control that the NYPD was reporting 1 shooting every hour. And Chicago reportedly saw at least 106 people shot over Father's Day weekend, the most weekend shooting victims in nearly a decade. Sadly, 14 of them were killed, including a 3-year-old child. Joining me now is former NYPD Commissioner Bernie Kerik. Bernie, Kevin Corke just reported from Lafayette Park near St. John Church, historic church, Church of the Presidents. It's been defaced with spray paint. It was set on fire a few weeks back when I was there that night. It's a feeling of emboldened criminals who are taking advantage of, I guess, smaller police presence, a political situation where people are timid about going in and putting an end to this. I don't know.
They're emboldened. Emboldened, Laura, by governors, by mayors, Democratic governors, Democratic mayors, Democratic city council members that have failed to do their job. They support the lawlessness. They support Black Lives Matter. They support Antifa. They are the cheerleaders. And these maniacs, these Marxists, they're out there basically following their lead. And I think, in that park, I will tell you, I would saturate it with law enforcement. I would tell them they are to disperse, and anybody that did not disperse, I'd lock them up. I don't have the words to describe the frustration, the anger that I have, and I'm talking to Americans all over the country that feel the same way, and they're watching as our leaders, Democrats and Republicans, aren't doing a damn thing about this. The only person talking about it, the only person calling it what it is the president. Everybody else is, I don't know if they're running. I don't know if they're just scared.
They're all afraid. They're all afraid. But Bernie, I got to ask you about this because the president wants to put an end to this. But there's a political balance here, right? Because you can sense this is funded. They've gotten hundreds of millions of dollars from corporate interests, from individuals, from wealthy donors. Hundreds of millions of dollars have poured into interests, BLM and others. They got all this money. This is a well-coordinated effort we're seeing tonight in Lafayette Park. This is not some organic, show up and just see. No. This is a planned, orchestrated effort. What should the president do tonight? This is federal land. These are federal treasures, including that church, by the way, which is a treasure. I don't think the church is federal, but it's a treasure. I mean, what should he do tonight?
You know what? I think in these capacities like this park, where it is federal land, I think you move in the National Guard. The National, if I was in a position, if I was in New York City, for example, I was the police commissioner, I'd have the police enforcing the laws, really enforcing the laws and stopping these shootings. But I would ask the governor of New York to give us 8,000 to 10,000 National Guards, and I would secure every one of these spots, every synagogue, every church, every monument, anything of historical value to the country, they should be secured. And one of the ways to do it is with the National Guard. Anybody attacks them, anybody that goes after them, lock them up and start charging them federally. Stop jerking around with them and locking them up and they're back in the morning. Charge them federally and get them off the streets.
Bernie, I think there's a RICO prosecution that could be done here. With some of these groups working together in a conspiracy to subvert the U.S. government. I mean, There are a lot of possibilities that people who spend all their time focusing on this issue, I'm sure, can mull over. But this is insanity, and they're pushing it now to the limit. This cannot be tolerated on federal land. If these state governors want to screw up their states, I'm not sure what the president can do about that. But if it's federal monuments on federal land, that's got to be protected.
Agree. And I think the Attorney General, he's already directed the terror task forces around the country. I think there's 56 of them to initiate investigations. They have to determine who's doing it. We know who's doing it, where they're getting the funding to do it. And anybody associated with them, tied to them, they've got to go.
Well, they're putting out the word now that stained glass has to be destroyed. You know how many churches in D.C. alone? In St. Paul, Minnesota, and New York City, where's Cardinal Dolan? Is he in favor of this? I mean, I think everybody's got to speak out about this. These are U.S. churches, and I'm just disgusted by this. I'm way over my break here.
This stuff may work in New York City, but it's not going to work out west. They go out west and start attacking churches, they're going to have problems.
Yeah, well, Bernie, people can't tolerate this. Bernie, thank you so much. Great to see you.